All right, guys, I am going to call this meeting to order. It is 5:02. We'll start with roll call, please.
Bridget Sorensen.
Here.
Kimberly Gravel. Tyler LaPlante.
Here.
Isaac McKechnie.
Here.
Kimberly Lee.
Here.
Michael McCurchie.
Here.
Sean Borowitz.
Here.
Kimberly Hampton. Rob McGrory.
Here.
Lana Cosley Smith.
Here.
Aaron Paymont.
Here.
Larry Barbeau.
Here.
Austin Lowe's.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. On tonight's agenda, we have the following items. We have invocation, membership participation, the approval of minutes from 9/17/24, and the following resolutions. Cultural, IMLS, Anishinaabe Art, establish FY25 budget. Education, TED Grant, FY25 budget mod. NRD, Ishkode Project, establish FY24 budget. NRD, PFAS, establish FY24 and FY25 budgets. NRD Water, establish FY25 budget. NRD EPA GAP, establish FY25 budget. NRD Brownfields, establish FY25 budget. Legal Prosecutor FY24 budget mod. Government Transportation Planning FY24 budget mod. Apply for Nature Conservancy Whitefish Rehab Grant. Partial waiver of convictions, Nertoli. Appointment of Demore, Appellate Judge, Attorney. Award contract, Nomad, Administration renovations. Acceptance 2025 Indian Housing Plan. Approval Housing Plan Authority retention incentives. Approve amended agreement Huntington and Reconnect 3. Approving intellectual property use manual. Waiver of sovereign immunity TransUnion LLC. Benefit package key executive and attorney positions. Separation of powers request for secretarial election. Authorization to apply nonpartisan native government mini grant. Allocate ARPA funds Marquette Community Center renovations. And then under new business, we have Conservation Committee requests, committee appointments / resignations, and membership adoptions and board concerns. Okay, motion made by Isaac to approve, support by Tyler. Any discussion on the agenda?
She's here. She's on.
She's on. Okay, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. So that brings us to our first item, which is invocation with Gerard from Church
Austin,
for Medicine. Yes.
Could I make a motion to excuse Kim Hampton?
Kim Hampton is going to be on in 10 minutes. She's going to be reading the resolutions at that time, but until
Okay.
then, Tyler will be here. So Kim will be on momentarily.
Okay.
She's just traveling and not in reception. Okay. All right, let's get up, guys.
It took me 2 years, but I mastered that. Just kidding. I understand what green is. Go ahead first. Minnow Nagijigat is a good day to everybody. Minnow Yagaman Hidok Bujo Minwa. To that unknown spirit, greetings. Miga Winigi Kan Magoya Gawanawasaguyanish Biming is up to where we come from. Mi Winigi Nundani Gaik, Mamagan Mishkundani Ani Abek. Mabagani Niakiaik as we stand on earth. Yesterday was a really long day. It kind of reminded me of centuries of pain. And sometimes when we think about trauma, and in the healings around trauma. I said this yesterday to a group of high school students, about, 1,500 students and school trustees and ministers of education, Catholic priests and archbishops and I said, each and every one of us has a grandchild 4 years old, or we have children 4 years old, or stepchildren 4 years old. And we all have veterans and warriors that were walked to the edge of our territories and our nations. And a mother let her daughters and her sons go off to war, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, whatever conflict there was. And she waited for them to come home. And a lot of our brothers and sisters are planted in the ground in other parts of the islands around the world. And it's that same grandmother or the same mother that waited for her children to come home from school at the end of the day, let alone at the end of their life. And sometimes when we talk about healing, a lot of us, we don't understand the stages of healing. To bring that into the forefront of what that engages. A lot of people I work with and around within mental health, psychologists and psychiatrists and addictions workers, it's really hard for them to dig that deep or to dig that dark. And sometimes we in our memberships across this land, sometimes it's hard for them. And sometimes we allow them to subdue, I guess. And I thought about that today. Yeah, this morning when I woke up, about those ones that self-harm. And how many, and all the things that we deal with every day, how much thought we give that. Because it's like that warrior that went off to war against those with arrows against machine guns and gunfire. But yet he still went. So to each and every one of us, we are that brave. We're so brave. Sometimes we forget to be humble. And when we do that, that's why it's so important to go sit on the land for a half a day, or go sit on the land from daylight till dark. Go sit by the fire, eat a can of Spam, that's what I always say. Take a can of Spam with you by the fire. But we have to lift people up. I was at a college in Canada last week, and they had a reawakening for Sasquatch. And it's a Aboriginal Student Services Department. And what that translates to is away from home. And they totally tore it down, and they totally rebuilt it with an infrastructure of indigenous quality. And they're just going to take it, and I told them that they couldn't. I said, you just have to get the people that was involved in the original opening to come back over here. So there was a few dozen people, 300 to be exact. And what we did was we lifted all the faculty, there was 4 of them, and we lifted them up and pulled them up with blankets and wrapped them in blankets and lined them up, and transferred the power, the spirit of the department, or the power within, for those unknowns that were going to pay that place a visit for the rest of the education. That's what we have to get back to, is we have to lift people up and stand there beside them. And they'll stand there beside us when we need them to stand beside us. Or they'll stand up for us when we need them to stand up for us. And it's such a beautiful ceremony to do that, honoring. Because it's those 8 blankets. It's that infant blanket I always talk about. It's that balanced blanket I always talk about. It's that first step, that walk around the world that I always talk about. It's that puberty I always talk about. It's that first Red River ceremony I always talk about. That first fire, that first relationship, that first child, that first grandchild. Last Thursday, I was a great-grandfather for the first time. You're supposed to clap, just kidding. But even when I was a young kid, I never ever thought I'd be a dad. And I thought I was a pretty cool grandfather. But I'm going to be a really cool great-grandfather. But those are the things that when you lift them up, we lift each other up, we become stronger. You know, we become really strong. The strength in lifting somebody else up is really strong because it's medicine. So I'm going to sing the song about lifting. Is we're going to kind of like picking up the spirit for somebody else. So if you pick something up, give it away. Give it away because it's medicine. When you pick that tobacco up, we go ask the spirit to be strong. You which?
Good, Gerard. The next item that we're on is membership participation. So as tribal citizens, you have a right to address your government. We give you the opportunity to do so during meetings under this item. Members are given 5 minutes to speak with us. It's not a back and forth, anything like that. A lot of times when people have questions, then it takes time to get the member liaison to get the information. Michelle Moore, if you want to put your hand up. If you guys want to speak to the board, she has forms. Some rules associated: no swearing, no attacking individual board members. A lot of times you don't have to list names. Everyone knows who everyone's talking about anyway, so we're not going to have any of that. And as the chairman, I have the discretion to place people in closed items. It's not a punishment. Sometimes we do that just because sensitive items are discussed that we don't want on the internet. So With that, looks like I got a pile of them. Okay, go ahead, Betty.
Well, I'm glad you spoke about the, putting us in a closed session, because that's one thing that I'm here to complain about. I have a First Amendment right, and because board members don't like what I have to say, when I say something, I state facts, it's the truth. And then you put me into closed session because of that, and that's not fair to me. And I'll be happy when tribal members get standing in tribal court. That way I can bring an action against each and every one of you for violating my First Amendment right. Because it's not fair to any member, not just me, to any member. When a board of directors commits a crime, they should be put out here in the open. And when the board of director purposely have gross negligence and they don't bring an action against certain unit members, you guys are wrong. You're all responsible. You have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of this stuff. If I went out to Walmart and stole out to Walmart, and my granddaughter says, well, she's going to pay that back, just don't know when. That's stealing. There's no different. I'm going to file a complaint with the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and whoever else, the Attorney General. I'm going to file a complaint against this. You guys are sitting on your hands. Each and every one of you have a responsibility to take an action. That's stealing, to correct that criminal activity that took place. And I don't care if I get answers or not, because I haven't received an answer to my last time that I was here, and I don't know, what's that, 3 months ago? And I don't blame Michelle Moore for that. It's the board of directors' lackadaisical action again. So I am going to report. And I'll tell you what, I'll be happy to see each and every one of you in court if you ever have a separation of powers. But you know what? You're going to lose your power, so I think that the majority of you will vote against that. Because if tribal members have standing, you won't last. Because I'll sue each and every one of you.
Betty, you don't have to threaten
will.
people. Okay. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too. Janet, would you like to come up next?
My question is, how did we divide the ARPA funds from COVID? Was it an even split for all the units? Or was it based off of population per unit? That is my question.
So Janet, I know you know the rules. Michelle's right next to you. She's going to get in touch with you, okay?
Well, I was just asking the question.
I know. She's going to do her job. She's going to get in touch with you. She does a great job.
Yeah, she does. I would never say she doesn't. She does an awesome job. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so next up, we can do Shirley Van Alstyne.
Good evening, everyone. Mine is going to be a much more positive tone. I just wanted to thank each and every one of you sitting around the table. I believe everyone, except for one of the new ones, I knew his father, but I didn't know him personally. I wanted to say I do respect all the hard work that you guys do. I'm sure it's not easy. There's very hard job sitting on the board. There's very tough decisions that have to be made, but I did want to speak just briefly, because I will try very hard to do the 5-minute adhering to the 5-minute rule. And I just want to briefly speak about the proposed separation of powers, in which it really is the articles of the new Constitution, which were developed by a committee and approved and appointed by the Board of Directors way back in 2005. So this is nothing new. It's been ongoing for more than, let me see here, 17 years. I think it's been well reviewed, commented upon, given the opportunity, not only several boards, elderly such as myself, and memberships. Myself, I was back in 2005 when they started reviewing the constitutions, I wasn't able to speak. And why? Because I worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And while I worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I could not speak only on our tribe. I was restricted from doing that. But I'm no longer, I'm retired. I retired from the Bureau of Indian Affairs in 2010. And now I can speak. There's been so much time and effort, I think, for all those people that worked on it. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours that these people, our members, have worked on this. They worked on it very hard, diligently, alongside with some of our legal attorneys. So I hope you seriously consider moving this along to the next level. I mean, certainly everyone around the table has their own opinion on it. They may be in favor, they may not. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you how to vote, because that's your own individual thoughts. But as a tribal elder, and for somebody that just recently read this, because it was published on Facebook, thank you, McGrory, Robert, for posting that, because like I said, back when it was being worked on, I wasn't allowed to review it. As a federal employee working for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I just read it for the first time a few days ago. It's well written, it's well documented. I really honestly believe that it's time to get it workshopped, whatever, and let's move it forward. And that's all I have to say. I appreciate, and I'm heading out south again, so I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to talk to you before I head to my Florida home. I'm in good health. I got a good review down in Ann Arbor. They said my pulmonary condition is stable. Yeah, I've been fighting that since 2010 and will continue to fight. And again, thank you, each and every one of you, for doing such a good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy your winter in Florida. Good. All right, so next up, Jared Hunamaki, you're on Zoom. You want to address the board?
Bonjour. As you all know, I'm a reserve appellate judge for the tribe. I currently serve for the Bureau of Indian Education as a senior advisor to the director. Prior to that, I served as a policy advisor on the White House Council for Native American Affairs, leading implementation of the Treaty Rights MOU and the Sacred Sites MOU. I come before you today to talk about the Rock River Wilderness Area and the Eben Ice Caves, which are about a mile from my property in Eben. My property backs to the Rock River Wilderness Area. You can see the screen behind me. The screen. I've been working to reforest my grandparents' former hayfields since I purchased the property from my parents in 2017. I've been working with USDA, and we've planted over 11,500 trees and shrubs so far. I hunt and fish in the Rock River wilderness area, where I go back through my property, through the cedar swamps, down the canyon and across. And that's where I exercise my treaty rights. And the U.S. Forest Service has recently announced they're taking comments on a sustainable recreation plan. Number of years back, neighbors, private landowners started allowing people to park their cars and access the ebb and ice caves across their lands. And due to that, it increased tourism, visibility of the ice caves. And U.S. Forest Service has said that due to the increase in tourism, the Rock River wilderness areas, ebb and ice caves there are seeing increased amounts of damage from folks trampling down through the freeze-thaw cycles. Every year I go down there, I'm packing out more and more trash when I come back up the canyon from hunting. We're at a point in the process where U.S. Forest Service is just taking comments. They haven't formulated a plan yet, but we're at that point in the process where, from my experience with tribal consultation and treaty rights with working with the feds, this is where we need to get involved as a tribe and make our feelings known about the treaty rights and the sacredness of that wilderness. I'm extremely concerned, both due to the degradation, but the ongoing expansion of tourism. The Alger County has recently expanded the roads, and another property owner who's on the Alger County Road Commission has built a parking lot. So I'm afraid that the tourism is only going to grow and grow. And this is not a pullover in pictured rocks where you stop and see a waterfall. This is a federally protected wilderness area, and I'm really concerned that Forest Service is going to come back with a plan to build a boardwalk down there to minimize the impact on the ground from the freeze thaws, and it's really going to impact my treaty rights and my ability to hunt and fish back there. So I would appreciate the board and the tribal government doing whatever they can to get involved in this process, whether it's requesting formal consultation. I'm going to be back at my property there starting October 10th next month or next week. And I'm going to be meeting with U.S. Forest Service on October 15th at noon at my property. And any of the board members are welcome to join me. And I'm happy to show you the work that I've been doing and the impact that the tourism is having on the area.
Okay, I appreciate it, Jared. We'll be in touch. Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last member that wants to address the board is Dean Heislop. Come on up, Dean.
I did have clothes on there, by the way.
Okay, let's do close then. I apologize, I didn't see it circled, and it is closed. All right, so just Dean, the board, and staff.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so that concludes membership participation tonight. So that moves us to the next item, which are minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes from 9/17 of '24. Motion by Isaac, support by Rob. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. That moves us to resolutions. The first one is Cultural IMLS Anishinaabe Art Establish FY25 Budget.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of an FY 2025 budget for IMLS Anishinaabe Art with Federal Department of Education Library Services monies of $41,806.13, no effect on tribal support.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion by Kim, support by Isaac. Emma, could you cover this first? Also, Kim, I'm not sure if you heard yourself, but there's a lag in the recording, so if you don't get good reception on the next one, we'll just call on Tyler just to make it easier.
Broken English.
It sounds like a robot. Go ahead.
Anine, Emma Dahlmeyer, Acting Repatriation Specialist. This resolution is for the establishment of FY25 budget for IMLS Anishinaabe Art Grant with Federal Department of Education Library Services monies of $41,805.13 with no effect on tribal support. This budget will provide 10 art workshops available to tribal members and pay local artists to teach the workshops.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next resolution is Education TED Grant FY25 Budget Modification. Why don't you read it, Tyler?
Be it resolved.
I think I will have a, I was going to say, I think I'll have a lag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the FY 2025 budget modification to the TED grant for an increase in BIA revenue monies of $328,720.56, no effect on tribal support.
Okay, motion by Mike, support by Isaac. Stephanie, could you cover this first, please?
Sure. Stephanie Sprecher, Education Director. Sioux Tribe Education is requesting approval of a fiscal year 2025 TED grant budget modification, as we were recently awarded a grant amendment for a one-year extension with additional BIA funds of $368,000. This budget modification of $328,720.56 increases the original budget from a 3-month budget to a 12-month budget, including actual amounts for July, August, and parts of September. There is no effect on tribal support. Planned expenditures include hiring a project specialist for 1 year, procuring contracted services to conduct an educational assessment, and continuing to provide our TED scholarships, which include the $1,000 scholarships per semester to full and part-time university and trade school students.
Thank you, Steph. Any questions or comments on this resolution from the board? Okay, Lana?
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Hey, I'm wondering about that educational assessment. I had to leave the workshop early today because I was sick, and I'm sorry that I missed that part. Is that assessment like all the schools in our districts?
So that will include several focal points. The RFP is currently being worked on. That's going to include several different things, but it will include a look at all of our the native culture and the curriculum across our 7-county service area in the public school district.
Okay. When can we expect to see the results of that, Stephanie?
Well, we're working on the RFP development right now, and we need to get that out as soon as possible due to a year being left in this grant. So we're hoping to get that going fairly soon, and then obviously it'll take a while. So I don't have an exact date, but we're getting going on it quick here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, Okay, roll call vote due to the amount.
Michael McCurchy.
Yes.
Sorry. Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Sean. Isaac. Larry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate
you.
it. All right, the next resolution is from the Natural Resources Department, and it is the Escode Project Establish FY24 budget.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of a FY 2024 budget for Ishkode project with Federal Department of Agriculture USDA revenue monies of $68,750, no effect on tribal support.
Motion by Isaac, support by Tyler. Dr. Clark, could you explain this resolution, please?
All right, Buju Robin Clark from Gide Guama Idaman Aji and Wendayang, our Natural Resource Division. We're requesting to establish this budget, which will be the first within a 5-year funding agreement from the USDA Forest Service to support our Ishkode project and our larger hemiboreal forest resilience initiative. This covers the first quarterly payments within 2 contracts, one with Compass Resource Management and then one with Axiom Data Science to develop a Sioux Tribe-led data portal governing all this ecological, wildlife, and related data, as well as to develop an adaptive management framework for long-term stewardship of those hemiboreal forest relatives.
Miigwech, any board discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote with roll call.
Isaac.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton. I think. Tyler.
Yes.
Oh, Tyler.
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. The next resolution is also from the Natural Resources Department. It is PFAS Establish FY24 and FY25 budgets.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of a FY 2024 budget for PFAS with federal EPA revenue monies of $5,625, no effect on tribal support. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of a FY 2025 budget for PFAS with federal EPA revenue monies of $22,500, no effect on tribal support.
Motion by Isaac, support by Rob. Robin, could you explain this for us, please?
Of course. Anine, Robin Bouchard, I'm the Environmental Program Manager for, I cannot do how Dr. Clark, our full Natural Resource Division name, but I can do AG in a Windian, or AG in a Waindiang. So this resolution is to establish budgets that will allow us to expand our tribal air monitoring site, specifically to collect atmospheric deposition on tribal lands that will analyze for per and polyfluoroalkyl. I told Robin earlier that I was going to mess up this word. But PFAS substances, which are synthetic compounds that you can commonly find in everyday houseware, your nonstick pans, waterproof clothing, firefighting foam. PFAS can enter through a variety of different industrial processes, and it's important that we start to analyze our depositional data to see what is coming onto our lands. So.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. Any board discussion? Isaac?
It's mainly found in Teflon, so any frying pan that you have with Teflon, you probably want to discard it. But if you want to watch a good series, a good movie on it, right? Dark Waters is phenomenal.
Brilliantly done, actually.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, it is. I just watched that and it's excellent. So yeah, get ready for your Teflon products, guys. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. And the next one is also from the Natural Resources Department. That is water, establish FY25 budget.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of a FY 2025 budget for water with federal EPA revenue monies of $96,693.01. No effect on travel support.
Motion by Isaac, support by Kim Gravel. Could you cover this as well, Robin?
Yeah. This is our water, surface water monitoring program through a grant through the EPA under the Clean Water Act 106. It is to help us manage and monitor our surface water on our tribal lands, and the whole goal being to protect our rivers, lakes, streams, and other water bodies by hopefully reducing pollution and ensuring clean water for drinking, recreation, and of course, our non-human relatives.
Okay, thank you. Any board discussion here? Isaac?
Hey, Robin, do you know if we do any, like, membership or citizen water tests their wells for them? Do we have a program in place for that?
Not specifically, but we just actually put out an RFP for our uranium testing program that we conducted a few years prior. We found some elevated levels of uranium in tribal members' homes, and we were able to obtain funding to, we're seeking a contractor to put RO systems into those tribal members' homes, of course.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Tyler.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton. Bridget.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Okay, motion carries. The next resolution is also from the Natural Resources Department. It is EPA GAP establish FY25 budget.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of FY 2025 budget for EPA GAP with federal EPA revenue monies of $126,125. No effect on travel support.
Motion by Isaac, support by Tyler. Robin, can you cover this as well?
Yeah, so this is GAP, our guidance assistance program. It is a beautiful opportunity, I feel like, across Indian country for tribes to establish and build capacity for their environmental protection programs. And I know just from working for the tribe for as long as I have that it has been fundamental in helping us build our capacities to take care of our citizens and other community members too.
Okay, I appreciate that. Any discussion here? Hearing none, roll call as well due to the amount.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. And the last resolution tonight from the Natural Resources Department is Brownfields establish FY25 budget.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the establishment of a FY 2025 budget for brownfields with federal EPA revenue monies of $117,258. No effect on travel support. Support.
Motion by Isaac and support by Tyler. Robin, could you cover this last one?
Yeah, it's to establish a budget to support our capacity building for around contaminated sites, and it will support a full-time environmental scientist that will hopefully be able to gain capacity to even do environmental assessments someday, but also help with any sites that might be contaminated on our lands, and hopefully figure out funding to help clean up areas. So.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion from the board on this resolution? Okay, and this one will be roll call as well.
Kimberly Gravel. Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel. Aaron.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Robin. Good job. Next resolution is legal prosecutor FY24 budget modification.
Be resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the FY 2024 budget modification to the prosecutor budget for a decrease in tribal support of $98,897.58. This modification reflects changes to the personnel sheet. Motion.
Motion by Tyler, support by Isaac. Aaron, could you explain this resolution, please?
This resolution allows the current prosecutor to stay on board through the rest of this month and help transition in the new prosecutor. It also eliminates the assistant prosecutor position, which we decided is not needed.
Okay, any discussion from the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Roll call, please.
Lana.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Next resolution, government, transportation planning, FY24 budget modification.
Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby approves the FY 2024 budget modification to transportation planning for a decrease in federal BIA revenue monies of $99,326.93 and changes to the personnel page, no effect on tribal support.
Okay, motion by Isaac, support by Kim Gravel. Bob, could you explain this first, please?
Yes, this is a resolution to add a new position to the transportation program. It will add a transportation manager to that program.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any questions or comments from the board on this? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Larry.
Yes.
Lana Cosley. Smith.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Michael. Rob.
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes. Motion carries. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Next resolution is apply for Nature Conservancy Whitefish Rehab Grant.
Now therefore be it resolved, the Sioux Tribe Board of Directors authorizes the division's application for the Nature Conservancy Whitefish Rehabilitation Grant funding. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors hereby authorizes and approves the chairman of the tribe or their designee to execute any and all documents as may be necessary and appropriate to carry out the terms, conditions, and intent of this resolution.
Support. Motion by Isaac and support by Tyler. Jack, could you explain this resolution, please?
Absolutely. The Nature Conservancy has approximately $50,000 to $60,000 of non-competitive funds to support our Atikamekw Lake Whitefish Initiative, which is also aligned with their restoration goals. We're requesting permission to apply for these funds. Our whitefish hatchery has eggs in the hatchery for about 6 months, so these monies can pay for a 7-month position to help support that work.
Okay, very good. Any board discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you.
Miigwech.
The next resolution is partial waiver of convictions, Nertoli.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors pursuant to Tribal Code Chapter 76 grants a partial waiver to Mr. Brandon Nertoli.
Motion by Isaac.
Support.
Support by Tyler. Dennis, could you cover this, please?
Sure. Mr. Nertoli is a enrolled member who has prior convictions that prevent him from getting a gaming license. He has followed all the requirements of the code. My office and no court has any objections to this. In fact, as you heard earlier in the agenda review, Mr. Nertoli is a participant in our drug court and has been substance-free for over 6 months.
And granting this waiver would allow this individual to get a gaming license to work at our casinos potentially, get some employment. Any discussion from the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining, motion carries. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next resolution is appointment of Demore Appellate Judge.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors hereby appoints Christina Demore to serve as a regular seated appellate judge, attorney position for the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Court of Appeals for a 4-year term beginning October 2, 2024, and authorizes the chairman or his designee to contract with her for said position.
Okay, motion by Isaac, support by Sean. Tracy, could you explain this, please?
Yes. This will fill a vacancy that unexpectedly occurred the end of August after appointment of an individual in August of this year was made. Some conflicts arose, and then the appointment was rescinded in September. So this will fill the Court of Appeals again with an attorney position who also had applied for this position and was appointed reserve judge at that time.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. Next resolution is award contract Nomad Administration renovations.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Board of Directors hereby approves the construction contract with Nomad Construction for the Tribal Administration Building Lower Level Finance Area Remodel. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors hereby authorizes and approves the tribal chairman or his designee to execute any and all documents, including as may be necessary and appropriate to carry out the terms, conditions, and intent of this resolution. Be it finally resolved that the Board of Directors hereby authorizes the Chief Financial Officer to allocate the necessary funding source and create any and all necessary internal budget documents related to the terms, conditions, and intent of this resolution.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
All right, motion by Tyler, support by Isaac. Andrew, could you explain this for us, please?
Yeah, so Facilities is requesting to award the contract to Nomad Construction for the remodel of the lower level of Woolworths. It will accommodate additional staff because of the growing need of additional staff. And it went through the procurement policy, and you have the bid recommendation in front of you. So if you have any questions.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Any discussion from the board? Okay, roll call, please.
Rob,
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kimberly Lee,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Isaac, Sean,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
The next resolution is acceptance 2025 Indian Housing Plan.
Now therefore be it resolved, the Sioux Tribe Board of Directors approves the 2025 Indian Housing Plan, grant number 55-IH-26-5480 as presented, and does hereby request funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Be it further resolved, the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Board of Directors and Sioux Tribe Housing Commission does agree to follow the HUD-approved Indian Housing Plan in order to provide housing opportunities. Be it further resolved, the Sioux Tribe Housing Authority Director is authorized to submit the 2025 IHP in the HUD online GEM system. Be it finally resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby authorize the tribal chairman or his designee to negotiate, execute, and amend any and all documents resulting therefrom on the tribe's behalf on a contract between the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians and U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Office of Native American Programs.
Okay, motion by Isaac, support by Kim Gravel. Vern, could you cover this for us, please?
Yes, good evening. I'm Veronica Beaumont. I'm the operations manager for the Housing Authority, and we are requesting that the Sioux Tribe Board of Directors approves the 2025 Indian Housing Plan as presented and does hereby request funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Okay, thank you. Any board discussion on this? Okay, roll call due to the amount.
Michael. Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Bridget. You cut out, Bridget. Tyler,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bridget.
Okay, motion carries. Bridget, if you can hear us, we can't hear you or understand you. So that one passed. The next resolution is approve housing authority retention incentives.
Now therefore be it resolved, the retention incentive will be $1,000 per team member and is a net amount to be grossed up to include 401k benefits, payroll tax deductions, and any other required payroll withholdings. Be it further resolved that the Sioux Tribe Housing Commission approve the recommended retention incentives as presented today and request concurrence from the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Board of Directors. Be it finally resolved, the Sioux Tribe Board of Directors approves the payment of retention incentives to those team members who are at or above market rate in their position.
Okay, motion by Isaac. All right, support by Rob. Could you also explain this resolution?
Yes. This resolution is to give clarification on the previous approved retention bonus, renaming it to retention incentive, and it's for tax purposes.
Okay, any board discussion here? Okay, roll call, please.
Isaac.
Yep.
Lana,
Abstain.
Kimberly Lee,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes. We can't hear on Zoom if people aren't using their mics.
Rob,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Vern. So everyone speak into their mics clearly, please. Next resolution is approve amended agreement Huntington Reconnect 3.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby authorizes the tribal chairman or his designee to execute all amended documents needed to establish the pledge deposit account with Huntington Bank. Be it further resolved, the Board of Directors hereby incorporates this resolution into Resolution 2024-130.
Support. Motion by Isaac and support by Tyler. Bob, could you explain this, please?
Yes, Resolution 2024-130, granting the waiver of sovereign immunity and consent to waiver of tribal court jurisdiction to establish a pledge deposit account at Huntington Bank for the Reconnect 3 grant. USDA reviewed that agreement and required additional terms to be added to the agreement. This would substantially modify the terms of the agreement approved in Resolution 2024-130.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any discussion from the board? Isaac.
Hey, Bob, since it's getting late, I don't think we'll be seeing a construction of the fiber project then?
It's not looking very favorable at this time.
Okay. When do you,
Not this season anyway, not this.
yeah, when do you think possibly they're going to release the funds?
I'd like to be ready to be in the queue first of spring when we get back into the ground again.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Next resolution is approving intellectual property use manual.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians does hereby approve the intellectual property use manual. Motion.
Motion by Tyler and support by Isaac. Josh, could you explain this, please?
Good evening. This resolution is seeking to establish a procedure for both internal and external use of the tribe's intellectual property.
Okay, I appreciate it. Any board discussion? Start with Tyler.
I just want to kind of reiterate on this one. This request, kind of came to my attention because I was unable to send our logo to somebody who I sponsored an elder calendar for. It was just a small sponsorship, but didn't realize that we had all of this red tape around our systems, and we should be able to use our tribal logos anytime we distribute culture funds, 2% monies, or have any kind of sponsorship or support. So that's why this came about. It's getting corrected, and yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you.
Request to waive the reading.
Okay, the next resolution is waiver of sovereign immunity. Is there any objection to waiving the reading on this? Okay, hearing no objection, we will waive the reading. Is there a motion? Motion by Isaac.
Support.
Support by Tyler. Mike or Josh, could you explain this, please?
Mike Pins, Director of the Gaming Commission. This is a partial waiver to waive our jurisdiction for the subscription fees only. We're looking to contract with TransUnion to do our credit reports for background checks and Gaming Commission.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any discussion here? Okay, hearing none. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Next resolution is benefit package, key executive and attorney positions.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors hereby authorizes the attached benefit and eligibility sheet for stated positions. Be it further resolved that the Executive Director is authorized to update this sheet to remain competitive with recruitment and retention as necessary. Be it further resolved that the tribe's governmental budgets, benefits, and payroll should be administratively amended to reflect said changes.
Okay, motion by Isaac, support by Tyler. Christine, could you explain this for everyone?
Certainly. Christine McPherson, Executive Director. What this resolution will provide is the opportunity for the board to hire key employees, executives, and attorney positions with the attached benefit sheet. What we have discovered throughout this year as we're doing this is that we, if they're key employees, we can do a negotiation and do it by board motion. But for executives and attorneys, we didn't have a benefit sheet. So this provides a benefit sheet that gives us clarification and negotiation power for moving expenses, sign-on bonuses, and vacation and sick time. It became very apparent that we're asking people to move away from home, come here and not have any vacation or sick time. So if they do come, they can't even go back and visit with their family. So this resolution and benefit policy gives us that possibility to negotiate per person being hired.
Okay, thank you, Christine. All right, so we're going to have a board discussion, and it's going to be Isaac, Bridget, then Lana.
Hey, Christine, does this cover the recent hires?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. We'll do a retro look back up to even 3 years, because part of this other is that if we had executives or attorneys basically that came on and they also had longevity with us, we want to encourage people to come back and work for us in these higher level positions.
Thank
So
you.
I will be looking at a 3-year look back.
Okay. All right, Bridget?
So I know that we have to be able to recruit. My only problem with this is the moving expenses. I think that could be kind of extreme. Understand sometimes people have to move, but we could probably move a bunch of frontline employees if we were to spend that kind of money. So I'd like the motion to amend to remove the moving expenses.
Is there a second? Okay, so that motion dies due to lack of support.
I'm sorry, I can second that. I was just reviewing it.
So there's a motion in support to amend this resolution to completely take out relocation allowance. So we can have a discussion there. I've got the original list. We'll go back to it once we're done with this amendment. Who wants to speak on this?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Lana.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with some kind of relocation expenses. I agree that that is a real high amount. And I guess just for clarity on this, we're going to go back to the key employees back 3 years, so they would be eligible for increase in all of, even though they're already here.
No, it's going back for the vacation time. If you look on that, it's under number 4.
Yep. Okay.
Only on that
Only,
vacation. and sick
okay.
time, yeah.
I needed clarity on that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Isaac?
Hey, it does say on here not to exceed, so it's under negotiation for possibly 25 grand or less.
Anyone else? And the board would have the authority to help authorize that because these are key employees and the board's involved in those interview processes and negotiations. Okay, so we'll do a roll call just on the amendment, and this amendment is to take.
Austin,
Yes.
I couldn't raise my hand fast enough.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is though, if we pass this, nobody has to come back to us. It's already approved that they can go up to 25,000. Otherwise, why, I guess, because why would we need to pass this, I guess, if we just did all this at a negotiation to hire? To me, this is so that we can eliminate the time that it takes to negotiate by coming back to the board to be able to hire somebody. So I don't know why we need this resolution if we can individually negotiate with each employee.
Can I speak on this? Yeah. If you guys don't mind. Okay, so there's more involved in this resolution than just relocation expenses. I mean, obviously, there's sick days in here, there's vacation days in here. Without naming names, we've hired several people within the last year, one out of state and one downstate, and they don't have any vacation time. So they either have to bring their laptop and work remotely, or they just have to stay in the Sioux. So to answer your question, there's more than just relocation. That's why it exists in a resolution.
Yeah, but we were talking about the subject of relocation expenses, so that's all my comments were based on that statement.
Do you want to comment on that, Christine?
I guess I'm trying to understand the question. What this benefit sheet will do for, it's not only just for key employees, and yes, and key employees do come to the board previously to make that motion, within the motion to hire. What this resolution and benefit sheet will give the parameters to be able to negotiate right off the bat instead of going through the board to know what they can offer to hire. So it would save 2 to 4 weeks of hiring time. I would say that no one would negotiate up to this if it wasn't reasonable. So this is, I think, for the negotiation is within reason. I wouldn't say any of this. That's why it's not being read in, because it's not saying we're going to give every person this relocation. This is part of the negotiation process to hire.
Okay, Lana, Isaac?
Yeah, and I would just agree if we pass this, and I would trust that it would be reasonable, but those miles are low and that amount is high for relocation. That's my opinion. Because once we do pass this, it frees up that and it doesn't come back. That gives you the parameters, which I agree that we need parameters so that it's not all over the board, but I just disagree with that amount. And that's very low miles. That's, that's very low miles to me. So that was the discussion. And so just to be clear, Christine, moving forward in a negotiation, if we pass this, that will be vested for you guys having that authority to do it, and there'll be no discussion. So it won't come back to the board.
It would.
I can't hear whoever's talking.
The only time that it would come back to the board for would be in the form of key employees where the board has to hire a key employee, and that's all spelled out in the RIS. It would not, I think it would be very rare that you're going to do this within your executives and attorneys, but there is just the possibility. I think that we have hired attorneys that lived out of state and have come here. So it's just not trying to lock it down into having to come back to the board, because what we have found is that it has taken months to hire some attorney that's from out of state because of getting back to the board, and that's not even a key employee. But we've not had the ability to negotiate of giving them any added vacation or sick time when they come in the door, because that's not how our policy reads. It reads that they're not eligible for usage of their sick or vacation time until after 6 months of their introductory period, plus it's only limited to what they had accrued. What this resolution does, especially for vacation 6 times, gives them an upfront award of vacation and sick days at the day of hire. It's not accrued any additionally. It will still be accrued at the regular rate, but they have the opportunity to really have their time available when they start.
And this also gives the ability if say someone left last year and decided to come back to work, we could grant them all their
Longevity.
their longevity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those were all only under number 4, so that, I don't want to confuse, that's why they're numbered from 1 to 4. Number 4, that only applies to vacation and sick time. It doesn't apply to people with location or signing or.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Okay, yes. I understand. Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have a issue with just that's not very many miles here, and I don't know if I can say how many is the attached public or not.
No.
Okay, so yeah, I just have an issue with that. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Okay, I'm done right now.
Okay, Isaac, then Kimley.
So what this resolution would do is just give you the perimeters to work from so you can negotiate for new hires.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Kimley.
I'd like to make a motion to amend that amendment. It's on, it just wasn't close enough. I have to share. To maybe, let's at least do that to where it's out of state. I feel like that's a little bit more realistic than the minimal miles that Lana speaks of, so.
I'll second that to out of state.
So what's the motion? Because she has to write it, so.
Just to amend that to, for under relocation expenses to out of state instead of the miles. Out of the state of Michigan or whatever we need to.
So to amend to apply the relocation expenses to any candidates that reside outside of the state of Michigan.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Lana, could you read that back because you weren't talking into the microphone?
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I had it right before I had to say it right.
Okay.
So motion to amend to apply relocation expenses to any candidates that reside out of the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I second that.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Tyler?
Yep.
Michigan's a big state, man. Moving is not cheap. And I know they're taking executive positions and high-level positions in the tribe. It's not like any of these people are being back paid. These are for future employees as we fill these positions in the future. So it gives us a starting point. We don't have anything written in policy right now. And a lot of stuff got left out because we were in such a rush to get our executives hired that it wasn't done to the fullest extent because we didn't have a policy to follow. So Michigan is a very large state. Even moving a few hundred miles away is quite costly. And when you work for even the federal government, they pay for moving expenses in a lot of cases in a lot of departments in the feds and all of the U.S. military. So I'm not comparing our executives to the U.S. military, but we are a government. And to make sure that these positions, so we can recruit the positions, you know. So I just would be concerned about that because we're really not talking about that much. Like if you just call up a moving truck company, they'll tell you like the average for mileage and based on how many trucks or how big of a truckload they have. So I know firsthand because my buddy's in the military and he just had a moving expense actually higher than this because he had moved from Minneapolis to Texas. It was very, very expensive.
Go Lana, Kim Lee, and then Kim Gravel.
Yeah, I have a nephew in the U.S. Army too, and he's. I realize that moving expenses are quite high, but we're not talking about a few hundred miles. We're talking about less than that. That's why we're trying to change that up in here. And this doesn't say that the executives can't come back in extreme circumstances. This sets some parameters, but if there's a real expectation or a need, I mean, they can always come to the board and state that justification. So I agree that we we need some parameters in there, but it's not a few hundred miles, it's less than that. So I think this is a good start, but I do support the amendment. So and I don't think, you know, if we look back, and I don't mean to upset the apple cart here, but if we look back, sometimes things can go through real quickly, and sometimes it's 4, 5, 6 weeks to make it happen. So it's just depending on the circumstance when we're fast and when we're not. So maybe if we got better at that and it was all consistent and have recommendations for some consistency too, it might work. Thank you.
Kimley.
Yeah, the intent of that was not to disregard that it's not expensive to move at all. And I think that some situations could just even, like you said, move a little faster and come back to the board in dire straits. I'm not saying that, but at the amount that we've got here, that is a little expensive to move that minimal miles. So unfortunately, without breaking this down into some bullet points of what that would look like, it's one extreme or the other. So that was all I guess I have to add to that.
Kim Gravel.
Couldn't we make them turn in receipts?
You have to use your
Reimburse-
microphone.
Oh, it's not close enough. Could we make them, like, adjust that to say they will be reimbursed upon returning in receipts for their moving? Because what if they're 110 miles away? You still have to rent a U-Haul.
Yeah, I think we're getting hung up on miles, but even within the state of Michigan, we just had someone move within the state of Michigan, and it costs a lot.
Yeah, if they're down in Adrian, they're right at the bottom.
So I think it's still within reason. I think that if someone's only going 50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, you would know what that's cost. We can call and get a moving company to give an estimate. It depends on their household, and if they have a house down, even in Sheboygan, and they have to move from Sheboygan here, that costs money. It's not really about miles per se, it's really what they're moving. I don't have a stake in this. I was just trying to make it as reasonable as possible in hoping the board realized that common sense would make sense on this, and someone who's just moving a minimal amount is not going to get the max. It is not to exceed.
But do we reimburse them based on receipts, or do we just give them a flat rate?
We definitely have asked, people have chosen as part of that, to say, we will pay all moving expenses, then it's not taxable because it's a reimbursement. Other times it was, some people want to move themselves, or, they're not renting, so they don't have receipts. They might want to pull at their own U-Haul, and they, all of this. So it's going to cost them money, and they choose to get the payment instead and use it that way, or use it for travel and not turn in all receipts. So it's been used different ways. But again, we've never had this, so we've never paid anybody but a key employee to do that.
So it's up to this amount with your discretion, just because if this were to fail, doesn't mean someone's going to get the full amount.
Right.
Okay. All right, Isaac.
Hey, Christine, are you under negotiations with any employees?
Not currently.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to table and put it on October 22nd workshop so we can actually workshop it, because this was on our workshop today and we chose not to really workshop it, but maybe now that people are more involved, they might want to workshop it, come up with some different ideas. So I make a motion to table.
Second. All right, roll call on tabling, please.
I heard Rob's voice. Okay.
I do want to do a correction. I'm sorry, Isaac. The only ones that it will affect are key employees that we have already hired, and that's only on the vacation and sick time.
Okay. Sean, this is to table.
Yes.
Tyler,
No.
Bridget,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Kimberly Lee,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, motion to table passes. The next resolution that we have is separation of powers, request for secretarial election. Are there any objections to the reading being waived? It's quite lengthy. Hearing no objections, we'll waive the reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Aaron, is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Rob. Rob, you sponsored if you want to speak first.
Yep. So this is, I started looking at paying attention to our tribe's membership's concerns and what the membership wanted when I was on the Tribal Youth Council at 15 years old. And the separation of powers has been at the forefront of everything the members have asked for ever since I could remember. I think as it stands now, we have a one-branch government. There is no checks and balances. This board is all-powerful, and that's not debatable. It's right in our current constitution that this board delegates all authority and must retain all authority, which means that we do not have a separate court. It means that our laws cannot be challenged by any entity. So this board hires the judge and everyone under that department, and they can fire everyone under that department, which means that you basically have an oligarchy, that this board retains all power, which is a major hindrance to membership standing in court. It's a major hindrance to membership's right to elect their judicial staff and have a clear separation between the governmental branches that can be challenged. What this will do is separate the powers of government, allow our members to vote in the judicial branch, and will allow our judicial branch, an elected judicial branch, to interpret the Constitution and challenge constitutionality of law. It will allow any member to bring cause to court to challenge our laws, which is a right that every citizen of every government should have. This is not a new amendment. It is in 2005, the Board of Directors moved forward on a project plan to establish amendments to the Constitution. Membership of that committee was selected and appointed in 2006. They worked diligently for 2 years on this, hundreds of hours under legal supervision. It was brought to every unit of our tribe. So nobody could say this hasn't been vetted. Nobody can say that they haven't had time to review it. I did not change the articles. There might be 8 revisions because some things needed to be addressed within it, as far as appointing appointments when we don't have a tribal member that runs for office. There needed to be a revision in there to allow for that. What this is an extraction of the articles that specifically deal with the separation of powers. So if you look at the new Constitution that was last affirmed in 2012 by the committee, it's a huge Constitution, and there's many amendments in it, and I don't believe in presenting the membership with a take all or get none approach. I think that from talking to members over the last 15 years, all of them said they would like to vote on individual amendments, and the number one thing they want is a separation of powers. So this board doesn't retain all power and deny our members' rights in standing in court. That's something our members deserve. Our members deserve to elect the judge and not have this board appoint them. So nobody could say they haven't had time to review this. It's been 17 years, and almost everyone on this board, I won't say everyone, but almost everyone had it on their platforms. If you have something on your platform and you haven't brought it forward in 3 years, it's time to get to work. Our members want this, and this is a decision that should be made by our members, not this board. Our job as a government should first be to protect the rights of our citizens. And this is a major step forward. And you're going to hear tonight board members say they need to workshop this. I'm not sure what they need to workshop. This is complete. This is done. We need to move forward. I won't support kicking this down the road. I think that it's been long enough. The committee has spent hours, hundreds of hours on it under legal counsel, and there is no reason not to move forward on this tonight.
Aaron.
Okay, so first I want to thank Rob for his bravery and his diligence to honor his campaign platform. I think I count, and I went back and looked at the travel newspaper ads. There are 8 people on this board who support a separation of powers, who've campaigned on it, but we don't have the votes tonight to pass this. So I'm looking to do what we need to do to get it moving so that it can be brought back to the table. So I'm not naive. I don't know that some people will ever support it, but I do think that we have a majority of maybe 7 right now, maybe 8, that do support a separation of powers as has been defined and projected out. Now, I want to share a quick traditional teaching that I just learned from another tribe, and that's giving grace. And if you've known me over the years, maybe I don't do that always up front, but I do want to give grace and an opportunity for those board members who campaigned on a separation of powers but feel that they need to do a review. So I'm going to make a motion that we refer to the tribal board workshops for review during the months of October and November, with additional workshop days added as needed.
Support. All right, so a motion to refer it to workshops by Aaron, and we're going to get that done in October and November, so they're going to be scheduled. It's not going to be kicked down the road too far. This is something that's important to us, and we're going to work on this, and Isaac supports it, so we'll roll call that, please.
Who supported it, Isaac?
Hey, I have my hand up.
I know you do, but there's no discussion in this. It's just like tabling.
Well,
Roll call,
can
please.
I amend his?
Roll call, please.
Bridget.
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Kimberly Lee.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton.
Yes.
Rob.
No.
Lana.
So we're not allowed to speak?
It's a table.
So this is essentially a tabling with a different
Okay.
word. So review parliamentary rules. There's no discussion on motions to table. So we're doing a roll call, please.
Lana.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, that carries. Next resolution is.
Austin,
Yes.
can I just ask, the only thing that I was gonna ask is, when we meet on this, can we have an open discussion with any member, like the elder advisor, any member from any unit or at large can come to the podium and have their say, not to do it like we do in a meeting format where they get 5 minutes, and in workshops, the membership doesn't even get any input. So I'd like to see it so that they actually have say when we are doing it.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about how we're going to format that. So I want to finish up this meeting, guys. Next resolution is,
Hey, I got my hand up too. I mean, this is a pretty big issue and we're all elected. Can we speak?
we're in the middle of a meeting, you guys. Just bring it up on board concerns. Come on now. Let's get going. Okay, the next resolution is authorization to apply nonpartisan native government mini grant.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby authorizes Tribal Chairman Austin Lowe's to collaborate with the tribe's legislative director to draft an application for a nonpartisan NCAI mini grant in the amount of up to $30,000 at no cost to the tribe. Be it further resolved that said content in any mailer therein will remain nonpartisan and shall not endorse any individual candidate, but to encourage Sioux Tribe voters to get out to vote and provide a general statement of candidates who support our tribal issues.
Okay, motion by Isaac and support by Tyler. Aaron, would you like to speak first?
Yep, so NCAI has put out a mini grant opportunity for tribes to get funds to support and encourage their people to vote. NCI is nonpartisan. The mini grant is from foundational funds that stipulates that it has to be nonpartisan. So all this would be is for our tribe to send a mailer to our tribal citizens, adult members of our tribe, to encourage them to participate in their democratic process and vote. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Any board discussion here? So this would be nonpartisan. It wouldn't encourage them to vote one way or another, right, Aaron? Okay. All right, final chance. Okay, let's vote on this then. All those in support, I apologize. Lana, I see your hand up. Do you want to speak on this resolution?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
All right, let's take our hand down. Okay, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Very good. Next resolution is allocate ARPA funds, Marquette Community Center renovations.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians hereby allocated $800,000 of unobligated ARPA funding for the renovations of Marquette Community Center. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors hereby authorizes the CFO to make an internal budget modification utilizing ARPA funding to carry out the intent of this resolution.
Second.
Okay, motion by Isaac, support by Aaron. Tyler, you want to go first on this, and then I call on the board?
Yeah, so at the last meeting in Munising, I had brought up that we were short to finalize the building. That includes the site plan, IT infrastructure, and a few other things. The interior will still be remodeled, but if we can just complete this, it would be much appreciated by my unit and everybody who attends. Both Unit 4 and 5, reside in Marquette County area. So I do service both members in my unit in that area. And out of all of the other units, we had the lowest funding because the ARPA allocation was given out per board member per unit. So it was $4 million per board member, and Unit 5 only has one board member. So we, every other unit got at least $8 million. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking to complete this project.
Okay, very good. We have Lana and Bridget with their hands up. Lana first, then Bridget.
Yep, and I have no problem with supporting that $800,000 in unobligated ARPA funds, but there was some confusion, and when I was at the workshop earlier this morning, we had talked about that. We only have about $1 million left of unobligated ARPA funds, so this will exhaust any. Now it'll only be about 200,000 we have unobligated, because all the rest that was stated has been obligated. Correct, Bob? Is that what I understand from this morning? And then while he's getting up there, Tyler, and I might be mistaken, but I thought that we passed a resolution, and Bob would have to research this. I thought we passed a resolution to give Unit 5 more funding than just that $4 million, but maybe I'm mistaken, but nope. I thought we did, because I thought, I thought that Charlie Mattson had requested that and it came forward, so maybe not, but.
No,
Okay.
that's what I got.
No,
Okay, only the $4 million, okay.
Right, Well, and I went back and checked the report this morning. The actual unobligated amount is $1.48 million, $1,480,000.
So by this, and that'll decrease by the 800,000 to finish this project up.
Correct, leaving $680,000 approximately.
Okay, and like I said, I have no problem, they're tribal members up there, and it's a good venture. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, Bridget?
Yeah, I know just what she's talking about. We were told we had like $40 million. So then this came out to take 600 to 800,000, and the resolution now says 800,000. I just want to reiterate, the Sioux with 5 board members got 20 million, 2, 3, and 4 got the 8 million, and having one director based on population, you got the 4 million. And I think what Lana's probably referring to is you purchased a building already, and then health purchased it. So, I mean, why don't you have to stay in budget? Because I know I'm not going to get any extra money to do any of my projects, nor is anybody else. Not saying that your people don't need anything, but I think that we should be sticking to what our project budget is.
Okay, Aaron?
So as somebody who worked on getting these funds, the almost $450 million for our tribe, there are some pools of funding that were specific for health and for other reasons. And so if you look at the distribution of that per unit, it's going to be more than the 4 million per board member. And I know we were asked a question earlier, and we've answered it like 3 or 4 times, but I just want to put a pin in it because we couldn't answer directly to the membership. There was an allocation of 4 million per board member. So, Unit 1 has 5 board members. We have as many people in Unit 1 as we have in 3 other units combined. So it's not an unequal distribution, it's a fair distribution. Unit 1 or Unit 4 has 1 board member, so they only got 1. So I don't think it's a fair analysis to add those other targeted ARPA funds for health reasons or for other reasons, because if you add that all up, the analysis is going to look different. You'll see that Unit 3 got something, Unit 2 got something. It will be more than the $4 million. So I support this.
Okay, Isaac?
Yeah, I think Marquette area has been it's been long overdue that we do a heck of a lot more up there. And by Tyler being the unit director up there, you can surely see a difference already, and I truly support this.
Okay, Mike?
I'll support this as well, but another point to be made about the Unit 1 money, because it was said here about the 4. A lot of our projects didn't get done, they didn't get allocated, they didn't get movement, and then they got swept. So the Unit 1 monies, there's a lot of other projects that got swept and got put into the unallocated things, so that analysis isn't completely accurate either. So we all did get 4 million. Some of the projects that we put it towards, for one reason or another, didn't get done. They got obligated. I mean, they got appropriated and they got a resolution, but they never got done. So then it got swept in. And we were all fine with that. I voted for them. But when we're going back and referring to this, that should be noted as well. That was all, just point of information.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mike, and that's fair. Aaron, did you have something? Oh. So there's a motion to call the question. Is there a second? Yeah.
I think we're just going into it.
Okay, let me say something, then we will. All right. So
I have my hand up as well.
Okay, Lana, go ahead.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I think I stated at the end, I do support this project. My only questions were, I wanted to be clear on what we have obligated and unobligated, because it was stated that we had 35 million to 40 million unobligated, and that just wasn't accurate. I found out that this morning. So when I asked my question, it wasn't about how great Tyler is, because I do think he's a good board member up there, or lack of, or anything. It was to be clear on what we had left in those coffers. And right now we have 1.4 million. After we take this, we're going to have 680,000, and that's for all. That's just accurate, factual information that I wanted to have. Again, I support it, but what was stated before wasn't accurate. So that was my point. And Tyler, I do think you do a good job up there.
Thank you.
I'll speak on it and then we'll vote. So those ARPA dollars weren't distributed based on population. They were based on the amount of board members in each unit. And some of these units are gerrymandered. All you have to do is look at a map of our service area and you can see that Unit 5 twists and turns this way and that way. And to give you some context, Marquette is the epicenter of Unit 5. Negaunee is 10 miles away. It's Unit 4. Ishpeming is 15 miles away from Marquette. It is Unit 4 as well. And Gwinn is 30 miles away. It is Unit 4 as well. Everyone in those cities are going to Marquette for services because it is closer than Escanaba and it's closer than Manistee. So even though we only have one board member in Marquette, let's not fool ourselves. Marquette is the largest city in the Upper Peninsula. It has a large number of tribal members, and it's really the economic hub of the Upper Peninsula at this point as well. I mean, take a trip up there. The homes are beautiful. There's construction taking place everywhere, so I'm supportive of it as well. And moving forward, we're all going to have to ask for extra money because there's operational expenses with these centers. Every year, we're going to have to pass a budget for fitness centers and community centers. That's okay, but let's go into that with our eyes open. So, roll call, please.
Sean?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Kimberly Hampton?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kimberly Lee?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes.
Kimberly Gravel?
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, motion carries. Very good. So that concludes all the resolutions. So we're going to dip into new business. The first item is Conservation Committee requests. So I would like to entertain a motion to transfer the captain's license from Christopher Paquin to Lucas Riordan. And I apologize if I mispronounced the last name. All right, motion by Mike, support by Tyler. Ryan, would you like to give an update what the Conservation Committee's opinion is on this, all that good stuff?
Yeah, this was on the agenda for the Conservation Committee on September 23rd, and it passed unanimously. They're in support of this license transfer.
Okay, very good. Any questions, comments from the board? Okay, hearing none. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion
I
carries.
abstained. I abstained.
Okay, Lana abstains? Okay. All right, so the next item under Conservation Committee requests is medical monitoring permit. We workshopped this. So I'd like to entertain a motion to create a new medical monitoring permit. Motion by Isaac, support by Tyler. Ryan, could you explain this as well?
Yeah, we had a Fisher ask for an observation permit to have a family member on board to monitor them for medical purposes. We didn't have a mechanism, or observation permits didn't suffice to honor that request. So we went to the Conservation Committee and we drafted a policy recommendation for the board for a medical monitoring permit, medical monitoring permit. It is allowed under our code and CORA regulation. The framework would be, has to be verified by a physician, a medical condition that requires assistance and the necessity of a medical monitor on board your vessel to administer medical care or to prevent life-threatening medical episodes. It'd be immediate family members only. It would expire every 90 days and they'd have to renew it with a fresh physician's note saying there's still that medical need. And it was passed by the Conservation Committee. They did support this.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Board discussion, we can start with Lana.
Yeah, I support it as well. But am I missing is it already written up, or those are just the parameters? Family member, 90 days. What else was there?
Family member, renew every 90 days. I neglected to say, obviously don't engage in any treaty fishing activities. That would be clear on the permit. It's going to be modeled after the observation permit we have. We'll just have to change the language to make it a medical monitoring permit. We have a draft, me and Captain or Chief Marchand have a draft based on that permit that if the board.
Do we have a draft to look at or no?
I could send you the latest draft that I have.
I support it. I just like to see the draft so I'm clear if I get any questions on what it means. I can be factual and state what it means, but yeah, I support this.
So for our information, it's in our packet.
Is it?
Is it in our packet?
Yeah, Lana just informed me that it is. Yeah, it's a one-page form. The top line is Sioux Tribe Chippewa Indians medical monitoring permit, so it's in there.
Well, this does, yeah, but this doesn't say any of those things he just cited.
I think
Family,
the
90
point of
days, treaty
information
fishing.
is that it's just the form, it's not the policy that we're talking about.
Right.
Only the form
That's what
was
I'm asking
included
for,
in our
Austin.
package.
The policy is not reduced into writing at this point. We wanted to come to the board and get the board's approval or not of the medical monitoring permit, and then we would reduce the procedures into writing. So we have the spot at the bottom, terms and condition and tribal authorization. And we can change that language to make it explicit for the 90 days, but that's where we'd put that this is good for a period of 90 days, and then it would expire. And when it expires, they'd have to renew it. Just like an observation permit, they expire as well, and then they have to get a new one if they want another observer on their vessel.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, for clarifying that. This is the permit that's attached. It's not what's stated and how it works. Again, I'd like to see when you guys get that done. That's why I asked if the draft was there. So when somebody calls me and says they want a medical monitoring permit, what's the parameters? I can know the parameters.
Understood.
Mike, then Aaron.
Well, I had already addressed, it was like it seems like we're doing it a little bit backwards, like we're approving a policy, a permit, like form, without the actual policy. So I understand what you're trying to get at. I understand why maybe the Conservation Committee is doing it this way, just to get it done quickly and gauge the board. But it does seem like we're approving a permit form, but there's no policy to actually allow it yet. So it seems a little bit backwards. So I'll support this form, and I guess look forward to the drafts coming forward.
And we'll get the policy ASAP to the board, of course.
Okay, Aaron?
I would like to make a motion, hopefully without objection, to add the parameters for the policy as described by tribal legal.
Yes, support.
Okay, so there's a motion and support to add that. Any objections just adding it? Do we need to vote, guys? And that will have the language that you have in there, Ryan, or that you're proposing, that you have to apply for it every 90 days. It has to, the fisherman has to have a medical issue, and the person that's on there helping them, they can't help out with treaty activities, and it has to be an immediate family member.
Understood.
Okay. Any objections? Okay, so that's added without objection. Any other conversation? Rob?
I was just going to say that it clarifies on the form exactly what the policy would be, and if we're approving the form, the policy can't deviate from that. So I think it covers it. It's pretty self-explanatory, and right under this section of what the non-member agrees to, it specifically draws out that they won't participate in treaty activities.
Yeah, and it cites to the core regs and our code. We'll have to I'll make it clear in this form, the 90 days in that section, but a lot of the other stuff is spelled out in the permit.
All right, I don't see any more hands up, so we'll vote on this. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, so that concludes, let me double check here.
That's all the conservation ones.
So that concludes all the Conservation Committee requests. So let's move into committee/commission requests. So I'm going to do these individually. I was considering doing all of them at once, but there's a million of them, and it would be a big tongue twister. So I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Boyd Snyder as the current chairman of the Election Commission. All right, motion by Isaac, support by Mike. Any discussion here? Hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. All right, next up, Food Sovereignty Committee. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Paula Finfrock to a term that will expire in February 2027. Motion by Isaac, support by Rob. Any discussion here? Hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? That motion carries. Next up, we have Unit 2 Elder Committee, Newberry resignation. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Eldon Whalen Jr., an alternate whose term was set to expire in May of '26 from the committee. Motion by Isaac. Support by Rob. Any discussion here? Hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. That brings us to Unit 3, Elder Committee, St. Ignace resignation and appointment. There's two of them. The first one would be, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the resignation for Linda Marshall. She was a regular member whose term was set to expire in April of '27. Motion by Isaac, support by Bridget. Any discussion here? Hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those abstaining, motion carries. And then also in Unit 3's Elder Committee, I'd like to accept a motion to appoint Teresa Weller to fill an alternate seat that would be set to expire in March of '28, and Bridget made that motion, right? And it's supported by Sean. Any discussion there? All right, hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those abstaining, that motion carries. And then finally, Unit 4, Elder Committee, Manistique resignation. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept Sharon Martin Barber's resignation from that committee. She was a regular member whose term was set to expire in November of '26.
Motion.
Motion by Tyler.
Support.
Support by Larry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in support signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, those abstaining, that motion carries. So that moves us to membership adoption.
Okay. So the motion is to accept the recommendation to adopt into membership the tribal member applicants pursuant to Tribal Code Chapter 11.113.
Motion. Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Isaac, support
That was
by,
my motion.
oh, so you made the motion. Who supported it? All right, Isaac can have it. All right, Stacy, can you come up and explain this? We don't have to list names or anything, but just explain what's going on.
So what is it that,
Just can you explain what we're doing? You don't have to list names, but talk about how this person can trace back to one of our roles with family members, how they have siblings who are enrolled members, but they're not, and just how this slipped through the cracks.
okay. Do you want to tell them or you want me to? So there is lineal and there's collateral descendancy. We take lineal, right? So that means that it would have to be a parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, what have you. It cannot be an aunt or uncle going back. The way this one works for these specific people is their siblings, these siblings of their, I think it's their great-grandmother. The siblings, anyways, of Rachel, I'm not going to mention any last names as long as you guys are fine with it. They all share the same parents. Rachel was gone with her husband and did not get put on the roll. So when that happened, it basically cut off her line. So to be able, they have to adopt into the tribe because that is the way the wording is right now with the code. Collateral, that means their sister and brothers are all enrolled. They're under their parents. They share the same parents. She just is not on there. So it's unfortunate, but that is the way it is, and that's the way our code reads at this point. So these folks would have to be adopted. Aaron?
Hold on a second. Ryan, do you have anything to add to this, and then I'll call on the board?
The only thing I'll add is we're obviously bringing it to the board here because these individuals are Indian persons. They're in our community. They meet all the code requirements in 11.113 to be adopted, but for whatever circumstances, their ancestor didn't get placed on the historic rolls, they would just be enrollable. And so we're asking them to be adopted today. And just for the board's information, we did talk about this at agenda review, but we are working on proposed code language to help cover situations like this where, but for a weird circumstance in the past, these people would just be eligible for enrollment into the Sioux tribe.
Okay, thank you. I'll call on the board now. We have Bridget, Aaron, then Lana.
So when we officially vote on this, I think we have to list their names because when we do disenrollment and whatever, we usually name the people and that way it's in record in our minutes. So
I'm just going to clarify that. Thanks.
Can you list her name then, Stacy?
We have Michelle Valier and her daughter, Michaela Gribble, and I could be pronouncing that incorrectly, and then the minor child of Michaela. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron?
Okay, so in my ancestry, we have descendants from Ed Bully and Catherine Joseph Bully, a whole bunch of bullies, okay? There's a bunch of sisters and 3 brothers, and if you look back in the census, sometimes they were together and sometimes they weren't. So if they weren't lucky enough to have been counted on a different census. My Aunt Mamie was one that was counted as living at my Grandpa Norman's house, their brother and sister. They didn't live together, but our people lived all like in one big settlement on Sugar Island. And so if you didn't look to another census, you wouldn't see my aunt's name, my great aunt's name, as being eligible on the census. So the federal government, when they figured out there was a treaty and trust obligation for every individual Indians, they tried to figure out how to get out of that treaty and trust obligation. For us to continue to honor the federal government's attempt to undercount us and not count us is to give, basically to sacrifice ourselves to colonialism. So I think it's the right thing to do to adopt. I also think when we get to the point where we change our code so we can count collateral members that have bloodline proof that they have the same mother and father, that we will change that too. And I will pray for that day to come, and today is an awesome day in celebration for the people who are going to be adopted. Thank you.
Okay. Lana, then Tyler.
Yeah, I don't have any, I'm going to support this. I just wonder about the wording, the membership adoption. Now, are they going to be a full-fledged member, or are they going to be treated like an adopted member with the certain things that, and I just need clarification because I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Will they be a full-fledged member or an adopted member? Because we had different rules for a special needs and enrollment like that.
So right now, under our current code language, the adoptees shall have full rights of membership in the tribe. This particular family can trace ancestry to a signatory band of 1836, so they can exercise treaty rights. We could have an adoptee that does not trace to a signatory band. This family does, so they can exercise treaty fishing rights. The only thing right now in our code they are not eligible for would be to hold office as chair or a member of our board of directors.
Okay, Tyler?
Yeah, so I'm fully supportive of this. I just want to reiterate to the membership, to the citizens of this tribe, that we're not just open to anybody. These people actually traced their lineage, and it's unfortunate that they were left behind because that's what the intention of the U.S. government was. I mean, yesterday was a celebration of Orange Shirt Day to remember all of the victims and the survivors of boarding school era, and this is part of it. Whether or not they were involved in that, this is part of what the government and the churches tried to do to our people. Personally, both my parents are enrolled in the Sault Ste. Marie tribe. I know on my paternal side, I trace my ancestry to one member, and they had 12 siblings, and none of the siblings are on that record. So, and I know that because my dad did our genealogy. So, they're not alone, and it's unfortunate because those people could all trace back essentially, and it's still horrifying that we're dealing with this today as a tribe. I'm hopeful that we're heading in the right direction, and it's really a celebration to welcome people in, our own people back in.
Okay, I don't see any more. Isaac, go ahead.
I see the mom and daughter back there. I just want to welcome you to our tribe. It's before the vote, but I'm pretty sure you got the support. Thank you.
All right, let's vote. All those in support signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Welcome home. Thank you. Let's get them some Indian cards. All right, last item, board concerns. So how do you guys want to structure these upcoming workshops?
I don't have a board concern. It's just tonight I will be doing a panel after the vice presidential candidate debate. It's nonpartisan. It's on Native News Online.
All right, thank you. Tyler.
Hey, I just want to thank all you guys for your support in the Unit 5. We got a lot of great things happening in Munising and Marquette, and I think you just made everybody's day. So I really appreciate, working with all of you guys and everybody actually being fair. We've been pretty fair with each other when it comes to these projects and moving things forward for our people. And I've always supported you guys, and I know that you've always supported me. So I just want to say that I really appreciate that relationship.
All right, who's next?
How are we going to figure out the workshop?
You guys speak up. You guys wanted to have a conversation about how we're going to structure the workshops. Rob.
Well, after tonight's vote, I think it's going to go the same if I keep putting that on the agenda. I said I will. I will give you guys the time to do what you believe you need to do, that I don't believe you need to do. But what I will say is that after the time certain that Director Payment put on these workshops, I will be placing it on the agenda over and over and over. So you guys need to work and come up with something that the membership likes. I agree with Bridget's idea to have all members to have input, but the fundamentals of a separation of powers have to remain the same. So there's small parts that can be codified. I don't believe that we should do that without input from the court. And the fundamentals that can't change is that the court has to be elected by the members. It has to be separate by constitutional amendment, and they have to have the ability to interpret the Constitution and rule on constitutionality of the law, and our members have to have standing in court. If those things do not happen, I will adamantly oppose it. This committee worked extremely hard to get this draft out there. The articles that are needed to establish the separation of powers, they are there. They don't need work. So I don't know what you guys plan on doing, but I encourage all members to keep a very close eye on it, because the articles that were presented today are the articles that it'll take to give you full rights to establish a balance of power in this tribe, which right now, all power resides in this board, and members do not have proper course of recourse for this board, and you deserve that. So call every one of these directors and tell them they need to work on the separation of powers. It has to happen, and there's not very many ways to do it, so I don't know what they're going to work on in the next couple months, but they're not going to come up with something drastically different than every other government has already established.
Okay, Rob, or not Rob, Aaron?
So I would just ask that Lana poll the board for what our availability is, but we said October and November, so we should try to find a day per week. Whether you're at G2E or you can virtually chime in.
NCAI is going to be the difficult part,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, but we can work it out. We live in a virtual world now, and we're allowed. We never used to be allowed. And I would say I want to keep an optimistic tone, because I think it's not going to take more than 2 or 3 sessions. It's really all not all that complicated. And I also agree with Rob that we shouldn't be trying to undo, no matter what political influence is coming, because it's going to come. This notion of a 2-branch separation of powers is total nonsense. That's going to come. That is not what the committee came up with. That's not what the Elder Review recently came up with. And so if you stick your neck out on that, that's not what the people want. That's not what we came up with. And it doesn't make any sense. But I'm optimistic that once we start looking at it, we'll get through it relatively quickly. If we have to make technical changes, that don't change the substance. I think that's acceptable. And I think we should be thinking about what could be pushed off of an amendment and into legislation. Because this notion that we have to pass everything in one fell swoop and we have this big giant package that's going to confuse people, I think that increases the likelihood that it won't pass. So if that's the end goal, that it doesn't pass, you know, the United States Constitution started out with a Bill of Rights. And it started out then with amendments. And legislation then had to be drafted over a couple of centuries. And so if we have to pass an amendment and then start enacting legislation thereafter to promulgate and flesh out what it looks like, then that's what we should do. We shouldn't use that as a reason not to pass it, because it's not a valid reason. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Landon, then Tyler.
Well, just to keep in the spirit of moving forward on this, and now that I could speak a little bit because the question was asked about the workshop, I definitely agree that what's presented, you know, we can go through and have comment because it's been a few years, and that the membership is open to listen and understand exactly what's going to happen when we do this. So I'm supportive of it. I too think it won't take as long, but then also have a path on how we're gonna get there when we do pass it. So I'm looking forward to those workshops in October and November, and so that was the question that you had asked, Austin, was how we're going to do those workshops. So it will be open to the public, and we'll put that on our website.
Yeah, I think they can be open to the public. I don't see why not. All Sioux Tribe members are impacted by this, and the first item that we can have on the workshop is a listening session. Members can show up and they can talk about what their expectations are. We can listen to them, and then we can take their words and, you know, whether or not we agree with them, you know, they might make some good points and it can guide our actions.
Yeah, and I do believe that the advisory have lots of input too, so if we definitely make sure to let them know that this is moving forward, we can contact them as well, so thank you.
Okay, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this. If we're truly going to involve the membership, though, we have to do it during the time that most membership is available. So either we're going to do this in the evenings and workshop it in the evenings, or we're going to do it on weekends, or both. But I mean, Saturdays and Sundays would probably be the optimal time for most of our citizens, you know, who work jobs. And if we're going to be serious about this, we got to do it right, because we got one chance to get this passed, and we got to do it right. And I think the only other concern I would have is because of the amount of amendments that we would need subsequent to it, to also potentially remove the Secretary of Interior with this first initial passing. That would be my hope, so that we could work to move this tribe forward. Because like, I know the example you're using is U.S. government, but they weren't really technically a functioning government. We're already a functioning government, you know, 50 years. So that's where my concern lies, is that we're in the process of functioning, and I am worried about anything being held up. With any of our divisions, payroll, anything, you know, so that's where my biggest concern would lie. But I'm fully supportive of this. But
Shirley, we'll talk after this is done. We're almost done.
Yeah.
We're almost done.
So we can, but that wasn't included in this one. So that's why I'm saying I would like to see that included in the first version, to remove the Secretary of Interior, so we could get the separation of powers passed and all subsequent amendments passed throughout our own tribe. You know, clearly with a timeline there, because we're going to have to put courts in place and all that other stuff. But yeah, I'm fully supportive of this. Like, we got to do it right. We got to be responsible. You know, like my biggest concern is most of the messes we're cleaning up are from like 20 years ago. So I just want to make sure that we're reviewing everything appropriately. So Rob, I support you.
Okay,
You know,
Isaac, then Aaron,
getting this done.
then let's get out of here for the night.
I campaigned on constitutional reform, and I truly support it. The only concern I have is how we're going to get all of our citizens involved in it, right? Because honestly, a lot of them don't live in our 7-county service area. So how are we going to get the word out there? And
Workshops don't have to be all in the Sioux. Let's spread it out. Yeah,
No.
we can do it virtually too. There's a
Yeah.
lot of different options.
So we really need to think that and get the dates out there and give everybody time. And I don't think it can be from 8 to 5. I think it should be from 5 to 8 or 5 to 10 or on weekends.
Okay, Aaron?
So I just want to remind everybody that the committee that was appointed included some people that I would have never supported to be on the committee, but they all came together, even though they had differences of opinion. And some of them had some pretty strident opinions in opposition, but they came together in the end. They served as a model for what we should be able to do. And also I want to say, I don't want to say this that could be taken offensively, but if we read through very carefully, like I went line by line, everything over the weekend, there's a lot of things that are coming out there why we can't do it. But like on the budget stuff and appropriations and stymieing, that committee thought that through. They put protections in place that will not allow a legislature to play a game with an administrative branch by guaranteeing a continuing resolution. So if the legislature decides to try to screw over, the courts or try to screw over the executive branch, there's an automatic authorization of the previous year's budget. So a lot of those fears were addressed by that committee. They took 2 years of careful deliberation, about $500,000 of expense. So I think that's going to be evident, though, when we start reviewing it, and you'll see a lot of those fear-mongering that's out there is not justified based on what's in the draft.
All right. Without objection, meeting adjourned. Not hearing any objections, so let's get out of here. Meeting adjourned.
Success.
The recording has stopped.